What up, everybody? Welcome back. It's a beautiful day. It's almost February. I think tomorrow's February 1st. I don't know, something like that. And you'll probably see this hopefully tomorrow. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I won't say it's beautiful. It's not negative 20 degrees. It's actually like 30 degrees outside, and I got the door open. But yeah, we're back at it today. Quick little thing here. One of my buddies got this for me. I've done some work on one of his cars and built an engine and stuff for him. And he had this picture made for me. One day we were at the track. There was a photographer there. And he ended up getting with this guy, finding this picture of my truck, and had him make this as like a, I don't know what size this thing is, but I mean, this thing's legit. The guy that did it was Fodad Racing Media. I think he's out of like Joplin or something. Joplin, Missouri. And, you know, my buddy Jeff had that made, so probably one of the coolest presents I think I've ever got, you know, anybody's ever given me that's been car related. So thank you, Jeff. I greatly appreciate it. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, we're back at it today. Quick little merch plug here. Go over to the website, mramotorsports.com. Check it out. Get you some sweatshirts. I don't have enough of them myself. I need to order some more. That way, pretty much every time I do a video, I'll have some merch on. And then, what hat do I have on? This is one of the old hats. I'm running pretty low on the new ones, so I'm going to have to put in an order for those here probably in the next couple weeks. The hats and the beanies, like I said, you'll have to contact me, like Instagram, DM me on Instagram or Facebook. And then like the hat or the shirts and sweatshirts and all that stuff you'll get through the website. But anyways, today's video, we're gonna mess with some of the engine parts that we got for the budget build Civic, and kind of show you some of the issues I ran into with using the eBay rods and the nip and pistons. But yeah, I'll show you that. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So we're out here kind of tinkering around with the rods and pistons that we got for the budget Civic build. Motor's not ready to go together yet, but I am trying to get the ball rolling and like getting some of these parts sorted out. One thing I did notice with these Speedmaster rods, these are made for a forged piston. So the small end of these are too wide to fit down inside these factory replacement pistons, or these OE replacement pistons from Nippon Racing. So you actually have to put this on the belt sander, which I already did one of them. Let me show you what I got here. So if you measure this, just kind of a rough estimate, you're like 935.935 or 935 thousandths. The inside of these pistons is about so they're basically just about the same size. So I'm trying to give myself a little bit of room. I did measure an eagle rod, and the eagle rod measures about 850, or I think I had a Potter rod. But yeah, so these measure about 850, which is what I'm gonna, well, this is one I've already done on the belt sander. I'm gonna have to go through and like deburr this edge, because right here where this pin end is, that bushing's pretty sharp. So I'm gonna have to get my little deburring tool and go around it. Actually, I'll show you. If you don't have one of these little deburring tools, you're missing out. But yeah, so like you just kind of run it along the inside edge, and it'll take that sharp lip off there. So now there's no sharp edge, and you can see that little shiny spot right there on the edge. And you can't see it here. So it'll just take that sharp lip off that bushing. So whenever I go to put the pin in it, it's not all getting marred up and stuck or nothing. Yeah. So now I can put my finger in there and I'm not getting all cut by it. So we'll make sure the pin slides into it. Yeah, there we go. Just had a little burr or something that it wouldn't reach with that tool. But you should always have your pin ends checked. Whenever you're building one of these, you take it to the machine shop and they actually have a fixture that they put pins in, and it measures the ID or the OD of these pins, and then you slide it and it's got like a little indicator and it slides in there, and then you can check to see what your pin end clearance is. Same thing goes for the piston. The piston pin fit should be checked as well. And Jesse over at Nippon, I believe, actually has the pin ends set whenever he puts together his piston kits. Just blow it out. Come on. Just like that. Just like that. Let's see. This is the intake side here. So you should slide right in there. Just like that. And then you should have a little side to side movement on your rod. We're good to go. Now I just got to do the other 4. And then ideally, when you do this, if you had to basically machine that pin into the rod, you would want to scale these and make sure they weigh the same after you get done doing that. So I'll take these to work tomorrow and put them on the scale and scale them and make sure they're, you know, the same weight, you know, because budget car. All right, so now that I know what size I want that to be, I'm gonna go through and sand on the other ones and get those set for the thickness that I want. All right, and as you saw there, we got the pin end side of those rods sanded down and stuff and got them to where they'll fit in those pistons. And in normal MRE fashion, I got carried away. I started just ripping at it and started putting the motor together. I mean, I'll show you what we got. I got rods, pistons, and everything in the motor. Oil pumps on it. I've already got the pan painted. That was the pan that came with all that LSV Tech stuff that I got from that buddy of mine. GE head gasket that he gave me. That was the oil pump that was on that motor. I did take that apart and clean it out, make sure there was nothing inside of it. No metal or nothing, since that came off that motor with that spun bearing. But when I got it apart, the gears and everything looked fine. They didn't look like they had any scoring or nothing on them from any material or debris getting inside of it. On a side note, this is an entirely different block. This block is kind of nostalgic to me. Back whenever I had the coupe, the red car, aka the red car, this car, when I first got it back in like 2000, I think it was 2003, 2004, I had a CB7 Accord that I traded for this car and a hatchback. I don't think I got any pictures of them in here. Let me see. I think I actually have a painting I did of this car when I was in school. This is my CB7. I painted this. What year did I paint this? I can't tell what that says. 03, yeah. So I painted this my senior year of high school. And that was my CB7 Accord, the first Honda I ever built. And I thought I was an artist. But I've saved it all. Actually, here we go. These are old pictures. This is like what we used to do back in the day when you thought you were a car guy. Yeah, there's my CB7 Accord. That's, like I said, the first Honda I ever built. That's the one I traded for this hatchback, which whenever I got it, it was pretty beat up. This is a little garage I worked out of. It was like a lean-to. But yeah, I mean, the car was wrecked. The motor was blown up. I'd started like piecing together like body kits and just all this stuff for my first turbo kit. SS Autochrome junk. Back whenever I painted it gold after I did all the body work, and a little LS turbo. So what was in it? It was a little LS turbo. Well, I ended up selling this car, and I had the red car then, but it was just my daily driver. I didn't even have any pictures here. There was one of my old, I don't know what body style that would be, but that was like a 98 Accord. That was a pretty nice one. That was a buddy of mine's GSR hatch and my hatch. A little Eclipse action for my boy Tyler. That was his thing. He was an Eclipse guy. I don't know what happened to him. But yeah, so this car, whenever I first started building it, I don't know if you can see it in this picture here. It had a little D-Series in it, single cam, stock D-Series, and that motor was blown up. I had found a junkyard back home that had a wrecked Integra or something in it. And I bought this engine out of this wrecked Integra, and that was the first LS swap I ever did in my hatch. Well, then when I was deciding to sell my hatch, I ended up putting a V16 Z6 in it and selling it and taking the LS and putting it in the red car. And needless to say, that motor went through a bunch of revisions where it was just a little NA deal. I had an eBay turbo kit. Then it was my first rod and piston motor. And that was my first LS VTEC motor. And then at one point I had to step up and move to, a big boy motor. And all these years, I kept this block. This was my very first block, my very first B-Series Honda anything I ever purchased. Like I said, it came out of a wrecked car, so the block's actually kind of broke there. I helicoiled it here and helicoiled it there. That one didn't helicoil, so I think I ran like 2 bolts in it. Mind you, I'm going to fix this before it gets bolted in the car. I probably should have fixed it before I built it. Hindsight's 20/20. But the block was already 81.5, and that was the pistons I ordered from Nippon. They didn't necessarily match the 81.5 that the block already was, because I had forged pistons in it before. In all reality, 81.5 is not always 81.5. I run a little bit different piston wall than some people do. And usually it's different than what the manufacturer of the piston wants, and I change all that stuff. I try different things and see what works and what doesn't. And so over the years of building Hondas, I've kind of learned what I like and what works for me. But yeah, so that motor is now a short block. All we need to do now is get the cylinder head sorted out. I can put the cylinder head on it. These were actually the used ARPs out of that LS VTEC motor as well. But yeah, and then we can get a head bolted on it. I need to get the cams cleaned up. I got the cams and rocker shafts and rocker rails and stuff. I need to get all that stuff cleaned up and get ready for this. I do need to put my sandwich kit and stuff on it as well. But essentially that thing's pretty close to being ready to go in the car. But it's not going to go in the car just yet. You know, I got other projects going on. I mainly just want to get it built, get it sealed up, and that way it's done. When the time comes, it's ready to go. I do want to paint the engine bay of the car. We're gonna walk out there and check this thing out. I freaking love this car. I mean, I say it's a nice car. It's not really that nice. It's not really a nice car at all. It's pretty rough. But the plan is to make it nice, or nice enough. I just love this thing. Red bumper and all, I just dig it. The black molding drives me bonkers, but you know, whatever. But yeah, so I want to paint the bay. My hood's kind of haggard. It's got some dents and stuff. Yeah, I want to paint the bay. It is, somebody like I said, has rattle canned this thing in the past. We're gonna have to delete all the AC stuff because none of that's gonna work with the ram horn. I did bolt my little Mad Tight JDM intake on there just to, I don't know, get an old feel for what this is gonna look like again. I don't know about power steering. I'm probably not gonna use power steering either, so I'm probably gonna have to get a power steering loop from Josh over at Finishing Lines. I'm gonna have him make me a new clutch line. I'm gonna ditch all the factory clutch line. I'm gonna try and get a little mini tuck kit, one of his little budget mini tuck kits, to do away with all the brake lines up here and kind of clean all that up. But with being able to remove all this stuff, then I'll go through and we'll do a quickie little paint job. I'm not gonna get too carried away. I do want to weld up some of this. Shock tower is pretty beat up, so I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna weld all that up, clean that up a little bit. I'm still undecided on what color I want this thing to be. I'm been wanting to do white. We were going to wrap it white, and then I found a place online. They do YouTube stuff as well. Speedo Coat. I think they're out of Ohio. They offer some like budget paint stuff, budget paint, budget primer, clear coat, all that. And everything seems to be relatively affordable. I think their paint and reducer kits are like 149 bucks, and the same thing goes with their clear. I think the clear is like 139 bucks. You know, in all reality, you'll probably spend 300 or 400 bucks, but you're not going to use all that material on one car. So I mean, in all reality, you probably just assume half of it. So if you spend 400 bucks on a bunch of material, you know, you're going to put a $200 paint job on this thing. One thing I do want to do, if I decide to paint this, because I may change my mind, but one thing I do want to do, I want to have the windows pulled out of it. I know that kind of doesn't sound budget oriented, but I hate taping all this trim off and trying to paint around it. And you can see they've got paint on the trim, and that stuff like that just drives me insane. If you're going to go through the trouble and paint a car, don't try and like just tape off the best you can and stuff. Because I mean, somebody will come out and take these windows out. Look, they scratched the window sanding on it. Let's see if I can see it. It's hard to tell on the camera when I'm looking at it, but you might be able to see it. They've scratched the window whenever they were trying to sand it. Man, this camera really makes this thing look really good, but it's much rougher than it looks. But yeah, I mean, you can have a window guy come out and take the windows out of this thing for, you know, $75 to $100 or something. And obviously you don't necessarily have to pull the windshield out of it. That one's a little more forgiving with the side trim. But since the quarter glasses and stuff are all one piece, and the rear glass, the seal and stuff, minimum I'll pull the quarter glasses and the rear glass out just to make sure you get that much better of a paint job. I mean, if you're going to do a budget paint job, at least do a budget paint job in a way that it's going to last. And that, you know, when somebody looks at it, they're like, wow, that's, you know, that's a really nice paint job. And you're like, yeah, it's $200. And they're going to be like, whoa, no way. Like, yeah, you just had to spend a little bit more time on it. What do they say? Like, having a good paint job, like 90% of it's prep work. 90% of having a good paint job is prep work. If the prep work's shit, you can lay the paint on as good as you want, and it ain't going to matter. It's still going to look like trash. But yeah, so that's it. That's her in all of her glory. You know, we got our budget $400 Exetti twin disc. That is a deal that you will probably never get. That's a deal I would have never gotten. I don't know how that just, like, the worlds aligned and it just worked out in my favor, and I ended up with that thing. And then on top of that, getting all the stuff that came with it, that my buddy let me get. I mean, all this stuff, the Dizzy, the VTEC solenoid, cams, timing belt, I mean, just, it's insane. Like, I didn't expect that. I mean, as of right now, even to try and break this up, I don't have any money in the motor work, as far as, like, because I didn't do anything to the block. The block was already done. I just cleaned it up and put it together. Rods were, I think, $165 off Speedmaster. Pistons, I think those were $199 or $179 or something. Head gasket was free. Head studs were free. Oil pump was free. Pan was free. I did put a set of King rod bearings in this thing. And everybody's going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you did this. Yeah, these are mains. I've got spare mains and stuff. But I had some miscellaneous, well, as you can tell there, I had some extra sets of rods and main bearings for the race car, the red car. And I'm being cheap, and I was like, well, I really don't want to use them on this budget car, but then again, I don't want to buy another set. And I didn't have any decent used ones laying around, so I opted and put a brand new set of rod bearings. But the main bearings that are in this were actually the main bearings that were originally in this motor when I first built it as a rod and piston motor. I think that was 2006. And I'd ran that motor, I think, up until like 08 or 09, before I went to my first sleeve block, which I still have, my very first sleeve block. I think those I'm almost like 99% sure those were the original ACL rod or main bearings that I put in there when I built that motor for the first time. So it only just was fitting to reuse them in that thing. But I mean, so all that being said, with everything that, as you see it right here, I have like $325 or something in this thing. Those rod bearings, those King rod bearings that I put in there, those were free. I had a buddy that worked at King, and he hooked me up with a couple sets. They knew, obviously, race car life. They knew I'd need some spares, so they ended up sending me a couple sets, so I didn't have anything in those. So like I said, I got like $325 or something. You know, 325. I can't do the math in my head. What is that? 160, 179. We'll say 350. You know, $350 total in that short block. Can't beat that. And if that thing makes 500 horse, I'll build those things all day long. All day long. But anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling. Kind of a little budget car rundown here. I don't know. We'll hopefully get to this thing in the spring. Like I said, we are going to do paint and body work. I'll do some videos on that. Do some videos on the paint in the engine bay. Hopefully I don't have to do a lot of body work to the exterior. It'll be mostly just be sanding, so you're not going to see much on that. And then, oh yeah, and we're going to do some stuff in the interior as well. And we'll go through that later as it, you know, comes up. But anyways, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep following along. Don't forget, comment, like, subscribe. Keep following the Budget Honda stuff. Budget Hondas rule the world. That's all I'm saying. See you guys later.